Hi there, folks. This is a day that I may babble a lot because my brain is not clicking on all cylinders, I guess. But let me point out that what I'm talking about today is primarily going to be put on my YouTube site and probably not my Facebook site because I don't want to upset some members of my family and some of my friends because what I have to say may not be palatable to some of their sensibilities. Um, and what I wanted to talk about is what I had said I would talk about in a couple of my rants before, and that is what I call the adoration of the military. The adoration of the military means exactly what it sounds like. And it's probably partially a very unwise thing for me to delve into. I know we have a free country and there's freedom of the press and freedom of speech, but still it's kind of scary to go into this. Let me give you an example. I was at the sportsman show a while back with one of my brothers, and they had these booths set up. That's where all the sportsmen. The booths that were set up were the gun show guys. And these are the gun show guys like were with Timothy McVeigh and everything. They sell guns over the table without doing background checks. It's private owner to a private buyer, supposedly. And my brother went over there and started getting in an argument with these people about the Second Amendment and gun control and so forth. As if he's going to change anybody's mind who sat at the table. I mean, I walked over there, I started grabbing him by the sleeve and dragging him away, Come on, let's get out of here. And he said to me later, why didn't you stick up with me? Why didn't you stand with me against these guys? And the answer to that is because they have guns. I mean, it seems somehow unwise to argue with and get somebody all upset and frothing angry at you while they have a bunch of guns. It's kind of counterintuitive. And maybe this is counterintuitive when I talk about objecting to what I call the adoration of the military. And what I want to say about it is it seems that in the United States of America in this day and age, there is a real heavy adoration of the military by politicians and many segments of our society. And I understand, on the one hand, that guys who fought in foreign wars and so forth were people who put their butts on the line for this country, or so they say. But that, that's necessary to some extent. I mean, every single country in the world has some military, except for like Costa Rica, which they don't need one. They decided they don't have one. But the United States, a giant country like us, we people are always getting mad at us, even by accident sometimes. So we probably do need some kind of military in order to defend ourselves from the people who hate us because we're big and powerful and wealthy and all that. But I do feel, and I know people are going to disagree with me, that the United States is way too militaristic. We have become somehow an aggressive country militarily. I mean, just look at the last few wars we got involved in. I mean, the Afghanistan war, you could talk about that. They attacked us, right? They had the Al Qaeda with Osama bin Laden were stationed in Afghanistan and being protected by the Taliban, and they snuck a bunch of guys into our country and blew up the World Trade Center and all that. And I was angry. I was mad, and I know, but I understand also that that was in retaliation because of the fact that we had military troops stationed in Saudi Arabia at the time. Yeah. So I'm not saying it was our fault, but there is this, there's this bully syndrome. There's always somebody who wants to go back at the bully. If you're a really big, mean dude, you would think you would never get into a fight, but you do. People are always fighting you because there's always somebody who just wants to take you on when you act like you're all tough and everything. And it's the same thing with the countries, you know. The United States pushes its weight around militarily, and sometimes you're going to get somebody pushing back, just as a matter of the way things are done, and psychologically. And then, I'm saying something that probably people don't like, but uh, people who have been in the military and fought in the military and the wars and everything, it's almost like you have to genuflect in front of them. Like they are better than you, they are more American than you are, and they are just better people because they went into the war and they fought. And, I don't agree with that necessarily. I think that, first of all, people who go into the military go in for various reasons. Probably 100 different reasons that people decide to join the military. Excuse me. One thing, for example, is like young and the guys that I've known in my life went into the military because it was the best job they could get at the time. Back when I got out of high school, I know several of my friends that joined the military, and they were C students, and they hated their families, and they didn't want to work at McDonald's or whatever. They didn't have any good prospects for the future, so they decided to go into the military. And not only did they give you 3 square meals a day and a cot minimum, they pay you money, and they bring you to exotic places around the world. So for a 19-year-old guy, that's really not such a bad deal. I mean, and I had one friend went into the military, came out addicted to heroin. Strangely enough, I mean, that was back then. Now, since that time, they've improved the average quality of person that they take into the military. But still, people go into the military largely because they have no other prospects that are better. And I'm not saying everybody. I'm sure there are a good number of people who join the military because their heart is swelling with patriotic pride and everything. And I don't know if it's me or if it's just the way I was raised or something, but I don't feel constantly patriotic pride. You're going to hate me for that, I suppose. I remember going to a 4th of July celebration one time, and we were sitting there watching the fireworks. And, I'm an American. I was born in America. All but like 2 weeks of my life, I've lived within the borders of the United States. I am an American, and I want America to do well. I want my region to do well. I want what's best for the country to prosper. I really do want that. But I don't go around just feeling proud to be an American. I mean, it's just like proud to be an Earthling. I am an Earthling. I've lived my entire life on the Earth, and that's what I am as an Earthling. And am I proud to be an Earthling? Well, if I go over to to another country and watch them play soccer and win, and say, yay, then I could be proud, for moments, But I don't walk around just being proud all the time. I'm proud. I'm the proudest guy because I'm an American. But there are a lot of people like that, And I guess it's maybe my personality type or the way I was raised or something, but I'm not heavy into worship, But some of these people, they just like light right up about this stuff. I remember when I was at the 4th of July celebration, and it was one of those ones where they had the music playing while the fireworks went off. I'm proud to be an American. And it's like, I wish they wouldn't play that music. But then they did this one, it was the Star Spangled Banner, right? And I'm sitting there with my date, and there's playing, oh, say, can you see? And this lady, like, to our right, stands up, proudly puts her hands over her heart, tears in her eyes, you know. And I'm sitting there, oh, okay, I'm waiting for this thing to end, right? And she's getting all mad. She said, stand up, everybody. Stand up. Where's your patriotism, everybody? You know, I used to run into this in church, too, you know. You know, when the people are always saying, how come you're not holy enough? You must pray harder. You know, all right, okay. I am an American, and I love my country, you know. I love my planet, you know. I love my state. I love my region, you know. I love my county. One of the reasons I live here is I love it, you know. A lot of people, they move away. They may be more patriotic. You know, it's like wearing your patriotism on your shirt sleeve, you know. Well, these are the same kind of people who go off and fight these wars for no good reason. You know, if somebody, it's like they may disagree with the government in every which way, but when it comes to war, they just march right in. You know, and then the people who fight the wars are somehow saintly. And I don't want to say this, but you know, the point behind fighting wars and the point behind the military is to kill people. And I may be a little bit judgmental, but one of the reasons I never wanted to be in the military is I never wanted to kill anybody. I mean, is that too judgmental? But I believe that we should not fight wars unless we are severely and unquestionably, there's a clear and present danger. You know, unless we're threatened for real. These wars that people want to fight just because everybody wants to let you know that we're the toughest country in the world and nobody pushes it around and we're proud and you watch out for us. You know, that's not very moral in my way I look at morality. And then these guys that go into the military, they go into the military, like I said, because they got no other prospects, or I know some of them went in, I know other people went into the military because they knew they were going to get drafted back then, so they joined because it was a better deal to join. Or there were people who were drafted. Somehow this makes them better. They get all these considerations because they were in the military. As if, you know, I don't know, I don't get it. You know, what's so good about being in the military? And then we have to go and genuflect down in front of all the people who were in the military. I understand you sacrificed, maybe not, but maybe so. In some cases you did. But you know, things are tough all over. That's what I have to say to you. This is something that several of our major presidents have talked to us about. Is watch out. Don't get too hot and heavy about this military stuff. You know, George Washington talked about it in his farewell address. He said, avoid foreign entanglements, and we're going to require military action. He said that, George Washington. He was the head of the military before he was the head of the country. And then there's another guy. It was Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was the head of the Allied forces in World War II and then became the president for 2 terms. And as he was leaving, he said, beware of the military-industrial complex. See, what they do is they build this militaristic attitude that goes on within the country, that exists within, not everybody, but a fairly large number of people. And it's not a good attitude. Don't you think that was the same attitude that the Nazis had prior to World War II, or it was the same attitude that maybe the French had prior to Napoleon's efforts, you know? And it's sort of a super patriotic militarism. And I don't want this to get too heavy in the United States. I know that there's a certain aspect, this whole, you know, adoration of the military. We have to bow down to the veterans, and nobody is any good if they don't. Well, now I believe that we must beware of that.